Please, officer. I'm begging you, officer. Parker had seen it all in his years on the force, or so he thought. But when he pulled over a car for speeding on a quiet evening, nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. As the driver rolled down her window, her words left him completely stunned. Officer Parker was a 35-year-old man who had been in the police force for more than a decade. From childhood, Officer Parker had always wanted to be a police officer, just like his grandfather. As a child, he had heard many exciting police stories from his grandfather, and he decided that he would follow in his grandfather's footsteps. While in the force, Officer Parker did a great job. He always ensured that there was peace and order in the small town he lived in, and a lot of people in town loved him. One evening, he was patrolling the streets as usual when he suddenly saw a speeding silver car driving at 70 on a road where the speed limit was 40. Officer Parker had enjoyed a peaceful day and was looking forward to getting home on time to his family. However, when he spotted the silver car, he had no choice but to follow it. Precisely 2 minutes after Officer Parker followed the car, the driver was forced to pull over by the road. But before Officer Parker questioned the driver, he ran the car's plate number and realized that the driver had not had any issues in the past. Without wasting any time, Officer Parker got out of the car and walked to the driver's side. Then he knocked gently on the window, and the driver rolled it down. "Good afternoon, ma'am," Officer Parker greeted the woman. "I'm so sorry, officer. I didn't realize that I had gone above the speed limit." The lady apologized immediately. "Can I see your license and registration, please?" Officer Parker asked. "Here you go, officer," the woman said, handing her license and registration to the officer with trembling hands. "Susan," Officer Parker called the name from the driver's license. "Is there an emergency?" Officer Parker asked after he cross-checked the license and registration. "No, not at all," Susan lied. She could not even make eye contact with Officer Parker. "Are you sure, ma'am?" "There's got to be an explanation for speeding," Officer Parker said. When Officer Parker said that, Susan looked at him for a second, almost as if she were trying to find solace in his eyes. Then she burst into uncontrollable tears. "Is everything all right, ma'am?" Officer Parker asked again. "I'm here to help you," he added. "It's my mom. I'm trying to." Susan struggled to speak. "Please, ma'am, calm down and tell me what's wrong," Officer Parker said. "It's my mom. I'm trying to save her," Susan said while trying to hold back her tears. "Your mom? Is she sick? Is she in danger?" Officer Parker asked almost immediately. "I promised her that I would never involve the police," Susan said. "Ma'am, I can't help you if you don't tell me what's happening," Officer Parker said. "My mom called me a couple of minutes ago. My dad was hitting her again. So I was on my way to save her," Susan said. "Your dad is abusive?" Officer Parker asked in shock. "My stepdad. He has been hitting my mom since I was 10, and it's been years of abuse. Please, I need to go," Susan said. "Mom, do you understand that this is the kind of situation you need to involve the police?" "I'm afraid I can't let you go there alone," Officer Parker said. "That's okay. But please promise me you will lock up that monster and throw away the keys," Susan said in an angry tone. "I will do my job, but please, you have to slow down," Officer Parker said, and Susan nodded. Without any delay, Officer Parker hopped into his car, turned on the siren, and followed Susan to her parents' house. Thankfully, Susan's parents' house was not far from where she had been pulled over, so they arrived in a few minutes. Upon arriving at Susan's house, Susan's mother opened the front door and greeted him with a smile, trying to act natural despite her obvious distress. her red eyes, and visible bruises. She would always play it down. She had always covered up for her abusive husband out of fear, and today was no different. Susan couldn't help but wonder if things would ever change. "Good evening, officer. How can I help you?" Susan's mother asked. When Susan saw all the bruises on her mother's face and how her mother acted so calm and collected, she broke into tears. "I received information from your daughter that you're constantly being abused by your husband. Is that true, ma'am?" Officer Parker asked. "No, she must have misunderstood me. My husband would never lay a finger on me," Susan's mother lied. "How do you explain the bruises on your face, ma'am?" Officer Parker asked. "Oh, about that. I rolled from the bed and fell on my face," Susan's mother lied. "Mom, please. You cannot keep covering up for him. Let this police officer help us." Susan cried and begged her mother. "I don't know what she's talking about," Officer Parker's mother lied. "Please, Mom, I'm begging you. I don't want to walk into this house one day and see that it's too late to help. Please, Mom, this is not the way to live," Susan said. Immediately, Susan said that her mother began to cry too, and then she nodded yes. "My husband has been abusing me, but I swear he is a good person. He just has anger management issues." Susan's mother tried to defend her husband. "Please step aside, Mom, and let me do my job," Officer Parker said as he entered the woman's house. Upon entering the living room, Officer Parker saw that everything was a mess. It was obvious there was a serious struggle in that living room. Meanwhile, Susan's stepfather was standing in the living room. He had been listening to the whole conversation between Officer Parker and his wife, and he hoped that his wife would do her best to convince the police that he wasn't abusing her. "You're under arrest. Anything you do or say will be used against you in the court of law," Officer Parker said as he handcuffed Susan's stepfather and took him out of the house. Immediately, Officer Parker stepped out of the house with Susan's stepfather. Susan hugged her mother tightly, and they both burst into tears. "Everything will be fine, Mom. You no longer have to live in fear," Susan told her mother. 2 days later, Susan's stepfather was charged in court, and he was sentenced to a long term in prison. Even though Officer Parker was not directly related to Susan and her mother, he could see the deep pain and suffering they had endured. The visible signs of abuse on Susan's mother were a clear indicator of the ongoing violence and neglect they faced. For Parker, this was more than just another case. It was a personal duty. He felt a strong sense of responsibility to protect those who were vulnerable and to ensure justice for victims of abuse. He knew that if such suffering were happening to someone in his own family, he would want someone to step in and make a difference. The idea that people like Susan's stepfather could continue to live freely while causing so much harm was unacceptable to him. Parker was determined to see that those who inflicted such pain were held accountable and that justice was served. He worked tirelessly to ensure that Susan's abusive stepfather was taken off the streets, believing it was his duty to uphold the law and protect others from similar harm. Precisely 2 months after the incident, Officer Parker was at the station that day when he received a surprise gift. At first, Officer Parker believed that the gift was from his wife, but when he read the note attached to the basket of flowers, he knew who it was from. The note read, "Dear Officer Parker, you're proof that angels still exist, and I am truly thankful to the universe for sending you my way. Thanks to your timely intervention, I can finally live my life without the constant fear of abuse. I almost forgot what it was like to feel safe and free. Please accept this small gift as a token of my gratitude. It's yours to keep or do with as you wish. And a special thanks for letting Susan off the hook for speeding. I guess even angels understand the need for a little lead foot when you're running away from trouble. The gift and flowers were from Susan's mother, and she had sent them to show him how grateful she was. When Officer Parker opened the box, he never expected that what he would find inside would change his life forever. The box contained a diamond bracelet with hundreds of diamonds on it. In fact, it was a rare collection bracelet made with diamonds of different colors, sizes, and shapes, and Officer Parker could not believe it. That evening, after he closed from work, he went to a jewelry store to get more information about the diamond bracelet. When he heard how much it was worth, he nearly passed out. As soon as Officer Parker left the jewelry shop, he drove straight to Susan's mother's house, but he made a shocking discovery. Susan's mother had moved out of the house, and she had put it up for sale. But that was not all. When Officer Parker spoke to one of Susan's mother's neighbors about her whereabouts, he was told that she had relocated to another state. When he found her, he questioned Susan's mother about the bracelet. She explained that it was a family heirloom, a beautiful piece of jewelry passed down through generations, but it no longer held any sentimental value for her. The bracelet had become a symbol of a difficult chapter she wished to move beyond. Susan sat down and spoke calmly. She looked different from the first time Officer Parker had seen her, more at ease, and with a calmness that wasn't there before. Some might say you're just doing your job, and maybe on the surface that's true. However, what you've done goes beyond duty. It's about the compassion and understanding that make a real difference. I've come to realize that true value lies in the kindness and support people offer, not in material things. That's why I'm giving you this bracelet. It no longer holds meaning for me, but I believe it is more deserving of someone who has shown such compassion. You've made a tremendous difference in our lives. Please use it however you wish. Keep it, gift it, sell it. Whatever brings you the most happiness. My only hope is that it serves as a reminder of the good you've done and the positive change you've brought into our lives. Your empathy has made a world of difference for us. A couple of weeks later, Officer Parker sold the bracelet, and the funds from it significantly impacted his life and his family's future. The money not only improved their financial situation but also served as a powerful reminder that true compassion goes beyond mere duty. It's through acts of understanding and kindness that we can transform painful experiences into positive change.